Hello, Jacksonites. Happy October and happy spooky season. We finally will be having some spooky season content. Last year was a huge flub due to some burnout and reasons, but this year I promise I have some spooky season content that I want to give out. And to start off the month of October, I'm going to be presenting a horror show with a new episode of Super Cinema Rank. Although this episode will be very different, kind of like my Incredible Hulk list that I just did, which was very different as opposed to other top 20 lists that I've done in the past. Today, on the first episode of Super Cinema Rank that I've done in how long has it been? I think it's been over a year. Hold on. My last episode of Super Cinema Rank was, of course, 2023, and I did that July 26th, 2024, so well over a year ago. Also, pardon any background noise. Roman is in his bedroom right behind us. But yeah, today I'll be presenting you guys with a horror show. And in today's episode of Super Cinema Rank, I will be going through a retrospective of the entire output of films that I have seen from the year of 2024. Now, you may be asking, why are you calling this a horror show? Well, like I've said, 2024 was an extremely lackluster year for film. Now, I do understand that a lot of movies that were supposed to come out in 2024 were impacted by the SAG strikes of 2023. But still, be that as it may, I can wholeheartly say, more like 2/3 of the way through 2025, looking back, and now that I've seen all the films that I am interested in seeing from 2024, I can definitively say 2024 is the worst year that I have ever had the displeasure of enduring for film. And the reason why I'm doing a retrospective is because now normally I would do episodes of Super Cinema Rank ranking the movies from worst to best. But I ran into a big snag with 2024 is that so many of the films that I've seen from 2024 were either so bad that I wanted to pull my hair out, or they were just frustratingly either mediocre or unremarkable. So I just could not really bring myself to actually think, okay, did I like this more than this or that more than that? So I've seen 26 movies from 2024, and I really only like barely 10 films. So yeah, this episode of Super Cinema Rank is going to be quite a bit different. Instead of ranking them from worst to best, I am just simply going to go through the entire year of 2024, and if there's any films that I come across that I have seen, I'll talk about it, and I'll give some very brief thoughts on like films that I haven't seen but I heard a lot about. And there will be some movies that everybody and their mother saw last year that I did not see. And I will explain why. You can probably guess one of them at least, but just bear with me as we go along. And also, to keep things going with this new trend that I have of shaking things up, I will be mostly talking about movies that I disliked. There seems to be a very common thing on the internet in that a lot of people like to save really negative stuff for like the closing thoughts or like the final note that a video has to end on. And I see why, and I did do that myself for a long time, but I want to try to shake up that stigma and kind of go against the grain as I tend to usually do. So, yeah, I will be mostly talking about negative stuff, but I do want to end on a bit of a high note. So, going back to my speech that I made for the DCEU ranking, thinking back, 2023, well, it certainly was a messy year and it was kind of a frustrating year in some ways. I actually don't think it was that much of a controversial year. The SAG strike certainly didn't help matters, but looking back, a lot of movies that came out in 2023 were pretty fucking awesome. And while Avatar 2 was not a 2023 movie, its theatrical run bled well into 2023. So that was also kind of a big highlight of it, too, even though I didn't see it. But I did see it when I got it on Blu ray in 2023. So there's that. But yeah, guys, 2024 was an awful year. Horrible, terrible, no good, very bad year. Um, a lot of movies disappointed me. A lot of movies underwhelmed me. And if I thought things were bleak and slim in 2020, again, looking back, 2020, it wasn't a bad year. There just wasn't a whole lot of stuff put out. But yeah, I hope that we never, ever, ever get to see another year like 2024. Because if so, that'll be pretty damn sad. Because before 2024, I only say 2006 was a bad year for movies because it was just so unremarkable. And a lot of movies that came out in that year I liked at the time, but have since not aged very well, in my opinion. But yeah, 2024 was just a travesty for film output. So let's jump right into this retrospective. Of course, we got some burp fuel. I got a lot to go with the occasion. Okay. Cheers. Hope you approve of the cup. It's spooky season themed. I'm really trying to throw myself into the spooky season mood this year. Oh, that's good. Hold up. Okay. Starting off, the first funny. The first movie on the list, well, I mean, duh, of course, but one of the first movies to come out of 2024 was one of the first that I saw. And that was David Ayer's The Beekeeper. Shawnee Boy and a couple of my coworkers, and I think that's about it. But some people were recommending this movie to me, and when I saw that it was starring Jason Statham, but more importantly, it was directed by David Ayer, which is a director that I do like. I liked Bright. I like Suicide Squad. I love End of Watch. Of his film output, I can say that I have liked a good chunk of David Ayer's movies. But unfortunately, The Beekeeper is not one of them. This actually was kind of bitterly disappointing, honestly, because again, a lot of people were really hyping up the Beekeeper, and Shawnee Boy especially was saying it was like one of those, entertaining late 90s balls out action movies. And I watched the movie and I'm just like, did we watch different things? Because this is very like tame and restrained, especially for David Ayer. Um, Jason Statham's not bad, but at this point, it's just typical Jason Statham. Uh, Badass, ultimate, like one man army, um, Navy SEAL slash super duper trained, super duper agent that used to work for the government. Then he goes rogue and he starts exposing uh, the government that he worked for so long was so corrupt the entire time. Um, Very bland, very unimpressive action, especially since Jason Statham is a very talented martial artist. Very weak villains, a very paper thin, very weak plot. Um, and not really much to say beyond that. I was just kind of, and it sucked too because there were like the faint outlines of something that I could have dug about this movie, but it just kind of seemed like David Ayer was intentionally restraining himself and restraining the film. It could have been more balls out crazy. It could have been more entertaining. It could have been more action packed, but sadly, it just was not. So sorry, David Ayer. And I know that there is a second movie coming out, and I don't know if I want to see it. I'm gonna have to listen to um, a lot of word of mouth regarding the Beekeeper 2. And it's kind of funny how there was another movie that came out this year called A Working Man that was also directed by David Ayer, and it also stars Jason Statham. And it looks, and he is yet again an ex-Royal Marine commando working as a construction foreman in Chicago. So it kind of looks like he just did the same thing, um, just with a slightly different coat of paint. Um, Although it looks like this one has a bit more of a positive outlook. So, I mean, maybe I'll give A Working Man a look when I do a 2025 episode. But yeah, Beekeeper was just not a good movie. Or let me rephrase that, because it wasn't bad per se. It was just extremely unremarkable. Coming up next on the list is doo. I didn't see Argyle. I know that's in the universe of the what's it called? Like it's a spin-off of the Kingsman series, but apparently that movie wasn't very well received, and also it was never released fully in theaters, and I don't think it was ever released on DVD or Blu-ray. Yeah, I don't think it ever was. I was a little bit interested because I am a fan of the Kingsman films, but I just never got around to it. Next up, we have Lisa Frankenstein, directed by the daughter of Robin Williams. Oh my God, he's the spitting image of her. The fuck? Yeah, Lisa Frankenstein, starring Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse. Catherine Newton's actually turning into a pretty solid scream queen actress, but this was not a solid movie at all. I'm sorry to say. I like the concept. I like the aesthetic. It's got like that Stranger Things esque or No, I'd say it's pretty Stranger Things, where it takes place in the 80s. The guy who plays one of the dad characters in Stranger Things plays another dad character in this movie. Um, the special effects were decent. It kind of has also, not only does it have a Stranger Things vibe, but it also has a like kind of a Tim Burton-esque vibe, especially for its opening credit scene. It looks like art out of like A Nightmare Before Christmas or um, maybe Beetlejuice. Um, but I watched the movie and it was just not as good as it could be. It's not very fun. It has a very, very small and weak body count. Cole Sprouse, I mean, I guess he's okay as the Frankenstein monster, but the fact that he can't speak and he spends most of the movie um like in heavy makeup and just doing this very strange and awkward performance as the monster. And Catherine Newton, she's not a bad actress, but this is not her best performance at all, in my opinion. I get like maybe the point of it is because she's like a miserable, depressed, suicidal, angst-ridden teenager, but that's not very fun to watch. Yeah, it has a very small body count. It's PG-13, and this movie did not need to be PG-13. It should have been rated R. It would have been much more entertaining if it was rated R. And it also ends on a very just unsatisfying, kind of confusing, and just kind of bitter note for me. Because, like, you know, this was one of few movies that I was kind of looking forward to. Because, again, I like the aesthetic and the trailers and marketing. That was a recurring theme throughout 2024 is that a lot of movies, the trailers and marketing made them look really solid, but so many of them ended up just falling way below the line. And this was one of them, unfortunately. Another example where some people saw this movie and thought it was entertaining. And then I watched it and I was just like, did we watch the same movie? Let's see. Coming up next is the first half of 2024. I did not. Oh, so I did not actually see Madam Web, but I have read a lot of details and I've seen some reviews, and I especially talked to some people who are big superhero fans still. And from the sounds of Madam Web, it seems like this is one of the most ineptly made superhero films ever made. Um, I wasn't really all that interested in it initially. Like there was one trailer that kind of made it look like it would have been like Final Destination meets Spider-Man meets the Terminator, which that sounded kind of, especially when they showed, I think his name is Ezekiel Sims, the evil, villainous black and red Spider-Man guy. Um, but yeah, once the movie came out and the big splash and the bad buzz that surrounded it, I was just like, oh, and especially when I did see one little clip that showed like a Native American tribe in the middle of, or not Native American, but like some kind of tribe of savages in the middle of the Amazon rainforest that have outfits that look like Spider-Man's costume. Seeing that, I just said, nah, I'm not going to watch this. I'm good. And from the sounds of it, because it was a huge gargantuan bomb, making only $105 million against a $80 to $100 million budget. Uh, Seems like I dodged a nuclear bomb. Hmm. Yeah. Didn't see Madam Web. Wasn't interested. Seemed like the only thing that was good about it was seeing Sydney Sweeney in a Spider-Woman costume. Not to be crude or perverted, but hey, I'm grasping at straws here. I did not see Dune Part 2. I was not impressed by the first film, so I was not interested at all in seeing its sequel. I also really don't like Zendaya. I don't like that she's in so many fucking movies nowadays. It just drives me nuts. Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate. I didn't see it, but I remember the first Megamind movie, and um I know that there are a fair few people who like Megamind, but the bad buzz that surrounded Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate didn't surprise me because so if you remember me talking about how I don't like when sequels are significantly shorter than their predecessors, well, Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate is only 85 minutes long, whereas the film Megamind from 2010, like, god damn, that's another big kind of no-no, is whenever animated movies make sequels, they take decades to make. Oh, well, the first Megamind movie, oh, there's a show. Oh, I don't think that lasted very long. But the first Megamind movie is only 96 minutes, but I could just kind of tell from the bit of trailers and marketing that I saw surrounding it that it looked like a direct to video movie that was just released on streaming, which seems like that's what it was. So there was that. I did not see Kung Fu Panda 4, and that was kind of for a lot of the same reasons as Megamind 2. I love the first two Kung Fu Panda films, and I wasn't a huge fan of Part 3. But then again, when I saw that this movie, it had a much lower budget than the first three films, a lot of the cast members from the first three were not returning. The movie looked like it was a bit standalone and distant from the first three. I instantly lost interest. Oh, so the next movie that we have here is the Primevals, a full moon entertainment movie. um, Directed by David W. Allen. Now, technically, I think this is it's a 2023 movie, but it didn't get released on DVD and Blu-ray until 2024, and or at least so there was like a deluxe edition that came with a bunch of extra stuff. Like there was the movie, there was a documentary, there was a few booklets, and they were all inside like this lunchbox looking container. And I didn't get that because that was pretty pricey. I just got the standard Blu-ray release of it because I just wanted to see the film. And I know that this movie was a big passion project, and it was like 30 something years in the making. And David Allen, the guy who directed the movie, he actually passed away, I think, before the film was completed. So, and you can kind of tell because the movie does feel a bit haphazardly put together. Um, the stop motion effects are really solid. The Yetis or giant Himalayan snowmen um, look cool. It definitely does have a more grander but still full moon feel. I'm not a big fan of full moon entertainment, but this is definitely the best one that I've seen. But even then, still, the movie itself was just kind of okay. It felt like more. It did feel like an homage to King Kong. It also felt like an homage to classic Ray Harryhausen films, in particular Jason and the Argonauts mixed with King Kong, and maybe a little bit of Laser Blast, which is an odd reference. But the movie itself is just I'm not. I have no investment in the story behind the scenes, and like I didn't. I'm not a Full Moon fan too, but I also just didn't know of this movie until Trevor Thompson made it aware to me, or made me aware of it. Excuse me. So it's an interesting experiment, and it's cool to see a passion project finally see the light of day. But the movie itself was just meh. Seems like the legacy and the behind the scenes story is more interesting than the film itself. Let's see. Next we have Roadhouse, the remake of Roadhouse starring Jake Gyllenhaal. We're going to save that for later. I did not see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Not a Ghostbusters fan, so I wasn't interested. Next we have Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. We're going to save that for later. Didn't see the first Omen. Excuse me. Next up, we have Civil War. Now, I am not much of an A24 fan. I've seen a fair few of their films, and I think they are a studio that they're for the snobby, not really snobby, but kind of like what Shawnee Boy once said. You can only go to A24 if you have a very bizarre concept for a movie. And that's great for people who like want to flex their creative muscles and they want to be creative and be strange and bizarre and oddball. Usually though, it's just not my cup of tea. And some of the movies I have seen from A24, I just haven't been the biggest fan of. Like I didn't really like Hereditary. I haven't seen Midsommar, but I just cannot bring myself to sit through that movie. I did like The Whale, but it's like very borderline. Like that's a movie I can watch only every once in a while. Um, I think that's about it. Oh, and of course I saw this movie. And this movie, the title Civil War, and the concept of war journalists traveling through a America that's going through a civil war. The concept is interesting, and it kind of seemed like in its marketing and trailers that it would have kind of really taken a big poke and jab and stab at current political issues and current climates in the US that we're going through right now. And the movie didn't. And this is a very strange complaint, but I actually really feel like this movie missed a huge opportunity to take those jabs at the current political climate and take jabs at current events that are going on in today's society. But the movie kind of felt like it was going out of its way to not do that. And one scene in particular that they showcased in the trailers that seemed like it would have been a big set piece, where there's that one dude he's wearing camo gear, but he has like pink sunglasses. He's like, well, we're Americans. What kind of Americans? But that scene in the movie is maybe 5 minutes long and is over and done with in a snap of a finger. Um, the movie, though, in general, in and of itself, it's just boring. It's just 4 or 5 people driving through an America that's going through a civil war. But we don't know why the Civil War started. We don't know what the factions are in this Civil War. We don't know who's winning. We don't know really anything about any details surrounding this Civil War. Just kind of seems like they had the concept of, oh, hey, America is going through a second Civil War. When? Why? How? I don't know. Just watch people drive through a war-torn U.S. Nah, no thank you. Boring, disappointing. extremely like bullshit come out of nowhere twist ending that feels like this just a twist just for the sake of having a fuck you twist. Yeah, no thank you. Didn't like Civil War at all. Alex Garland's an okay director, but yeah, this movie was not for me. Stick to writing, Alex Garland, not directing. I didn't see Rebel Moon Part 2. I didn't even see the first movie. So not interested in that. Nothing against Zack Snyder. I like Zack Snyder, but I just wasn't interested. Looked like it was trying too hard to copy Star Wars. Oh, this next movie, this pissed me off. I saw the trailer for this in theaters for Godzilla X Kong. More on that later. Sting, a giant spider movie. Only for the last like half an hour. So the trailers made this look like it would have been like a fun, claustrophobic, creepy creature feature, and it's not. It's mostly a family drama with a giant spider in the background, and then it becomes a giant killer spider movie in the last 20 minutes of the film. It's boring. It drags. It has moments where it almost seems like it's going to be like somewhat different and entertaining, but then it's just not. And I mean, sure, the last 20 minutes where the spider gets like as big as like I don't know a rabid Saint Bernard, and starts killing people. This movie has a very small body count. It doesn't help that it has a very small cast. Yeah, once the spider grows big enough to start going around and killing people, by that point, it's only the last 20 minutes of the movie, but it's also just not entertaining enough to make up for the last. How long was this movie? Yeah, it just wasn't enough to make up for the last hour of the film being such a snooze. The effects are decent. There's a couple moments of suspense. Um, there is like a few scenes where the main character is a little girl who finds this spider, and there's moments where they start like kind of starting to bond, but then they're just over and done with in a snap of a finger. Um, also has a very just unsatisfying and underwhelming ending. Yeah, did not like Sting. Um, I actually was gonna watch this with Meadow, but when I watched it without her, and by the time it was over, she was like, "You watched this without me?" I just told her, "You're not missing a damn thing. You don't worry about it. You would have been more pissed off than me at this movie." And that sucks too. I like creature features. I like giant spider movies, but this movie wanted to be just a boring family melodrama more than a creature feature. No, thank you. Next up is Abigail. We'll talk about that later. And then after that is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, an a action comedy World War II movie. Didn't like it. Guy Ritchie's not a bad director, um, and I like his British humor because he's English. And I've seen a couple of his other movies, but this movie was a complete snooze. And it's a shame because it's got a good cast: Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, Alan Ritchson. Um, who else? I guess that's about it. Yeah, it does. Oh, and Carrie Elwes. So yeah, it doesn't have a bad cast, and it has a solid concept. But I feel like that concept is only entertaining for the first 20 minutes. It was a huge bomb too. I see why, because the movie was a total snooze. The first 20 minutes are okay, but then after that, like, and this movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes long. And this is a rare case where I really feel like this movie did not need to be 2 hours long. You could have snipped out at least 20 minutes of filler in that middle chunk, um, that just completely drag and completely bring the pace of this movie to a screeching halt. Um, Henry Cavill is miserably underused, as is Alan Ritchson. Because of Reacher, I've actually become to be a pretty big fan of Alan Ritchson. I think he's a good actor, and he's a big badass anytime he plays an action hero. And when he is killing people in this movie, the movie is entertaining. But the problem is that the entertaining moments are so few and far between, and they're so fleeting. Again, the first 20 minutes are solid. There's a scene when Alan and Henry and his team go and rescue some POWs from a Nazi camp. That scene is entertaining enough. But the final like action scene where they infiltrate another Nazi like what is it? It's like a construction zone for U-boats or submarines. It should be more entertaining than it is, but it's just kind of draggy and boring, unfortunately. And also, again, Alan Ritchson and Henry Cavill are not in this movie enough, and they don't kick enough ass. This was. I'm sorry, Guy Ritchie. You're not a bad filmmaker, but this was just not hitting. Was not worth sitting through. Oops. What the hell was that? Oh. I don't even know where that was. Excuse me. Keep forgetting how close I am to this thing. Okay, so moving on. Oh, next up we have Boy Kills World. This is also a 2023 movie, but I guess it wasn't released until mid last year. This one was okay. Not like horrible, and it's not in my top 10 list of favorite movies I saw this year, but yeah, this was okay. It's got a decent cast: Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Roth from the Happy Death Day movies. And what? Oh, excuse me. Okay. Wait, what are you going for? Okay. Oh, I need a pillow. Let's give this one a go. Excuse me, guys. Parental duties. And I also just have a metal folding chair, so I need some cushion. Oh, that's better. Oof. How long are you guys going to be gone? Okay, cool. Be safe. Love you. So, yeah, and also Famke Jensen, of all people, is in Boy Kills World. Yeah, it has a decent concept. Bill Skarsgård plays a mute orphan who is raised by some... Oh, I don't remember what this guy's name is. He's a big martial arts guy. Yayan Ruhian is an Indonesian martial artist and actor. He was in the Raid movies. Bill Skarsgård's raised by this guy and trained in martial arts and sent on a blood-soaked revenge mission to infiltrate some dystopian fascist community. And yeah, it was just okay. It has some decent action, but it kind of has a convoluted and nonsensical story. And there's a lot of like weird like 80s and video game and arcade aesthetics to it that kind of stick out a little bit. Texas Guy Movie Reviews is here. Hello. My biggest issue with it is that it's a martial arts movie, yet a lot of the martial arts scenes, like I'm a big fan of martial arts movies. I love me a good fight scene. But a lot of the fight scenes in this movie just felt kind of rushed. Like there are moments where there's some big badass knockdown drag out brawls going on, but a lot of the fight scenes just feel over and done with in the snap of a finger. And I get that Bill Skarsgård's character is supposed to be like super skilled and super badass, but at the same time too, still, I want to see, a decently paced fight scene in a martial arts movie. But as tends to be kind of a trend in a lot of fight scenes in movies and action films nowadays, they just feel kind of rushed and done with a get it over and done with as quick as possible attitude, which don't really like. But still, this movie was decent enough. I don't know if I'd watch it again unless I was really in the mood for something different. But yeah, Boy Kills World was just okay. Next up is did I? No, I didn't see The Fall Guy. I don't like Ryan Gosling very much. Next is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I saw in theaters. We'll talk about that later. Did not see Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. I'm sorry, I just didn't think. Well, for starters, I just really wasn't a big fan of the Mad Max movies in general, but I just didn't think Furiosa was an interesting enough character to get her own movie. I heard a couple decent things about the movie, but I'm just not a fan of Mad Max. I'm sorry, I just wasn't all that interested. And I also don't really like Anya Taylor-Joy all that much, so pass. Oh, next up we have Bad Boys, Ride or Die. We'll talk about that later. Next we have Ultraman Rising. We will definitely be talking about that later. Did not see A Quiet Place Day One. I actually think it was a bit pointless, to be 100% honest. I know it's a prequel, and that's why I have a problem, because I feel like it's just kind of pointless, honestly, because we see enough of the beginnings of this alien invasion at the beginning of Quiet Place Part 2. We don't really need to see anything more beyond that. So to dedicate an entire movie to the beginning of this alien invasion just didn't really sit well with me, I'm sorry to say. I mean, at least they didn't do. Well, actually, no, they kind of did do that, because Bird Box got a sequel, quote unquote. It was a parallel sequel. But so yeah, I wasn't really interested in that. I did not see Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Only because I don't have Netflix, and I actually can't afford Netflix. So I heard a couple decent things about it, and I did like read some details. Ooh, Kevin Bacon's in it. But I can't see it. I want to, but I just can't. It did seem like it did kind of make up for Beverly Hills Cop 3 not being that great. I did not see Maxine, the third of the X trilogy. Yeah, not. I didn't really like the first two movies. So So, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, that looks like it's the most kind of entertaining installment of the three, but I just never got around to it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, next up is Long Legs. Long Legs was a big, big disappointment. Probably, definitely in the top 5 list of most disappointing films that I saw of 2024. The trailers made it look really, really solid. I like the marketing. I like the poster of just Nicolas Cage's eyes in black with a red background. Um, and when I started the movie, it had a really solid start. It had a really solid tone. It felt very Silence of the Lambs-esque, with a little bit of that supernatural touch. Also felt like Seven a little bit too. But by the end of the movie, I was very bitterly disappointed. Nick Cage is miserably underused. The story and structure is very haphazard and very thin. Um, the directing is solid. There were a couple decent moments of suspense. The first half in particular had some good intrigue, and like it again felt very Silence of the Lambs-esque, but with the character played by Micah Monroe possibly having some psychic abilities and utilizing those to help solve cases for the FBI. That's a solid premise. That'd make a great TV show. Um, but by the end of it, I'm sorry, Osgood Perkins, but this just sucked. There were also some good special effects, like when Nick Cage's character kills himself. That's pretty violent and visceral. And there was one Nick Cage moment that was a little funny when his character like bought some stuff from a hardware store and was driving to where he was going. He's like, "Daddy, mommy," typical Nick Cage fashion. But the main thing that really put me off for this movie, I very strongly, very, 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 very strongly theorize this movie is missing like 40 minutes of footage. The movie itself is only 101 minutes. And it feels like, yeah, there's like 30 or 40 minutes of footage snipped out. And it's the second half of the movie that really feels really choppy. It feels like Osgood Perkins either was forced to cut out a bunch of footage to make details ambiguous or for like a possible sequel hook, or he intentionally left a lot of details vague and a lot of details ambiguous, either due to laziness or being a troll. Because by the end of this movie, I had way more questions than answers, and I was left more than a little unsatisfied. And also, again, too, Nick Cage is miserably underused. He's actually kind of more like an afterthought in this movie, if you ask me. So, yeah, Long Legs, big, big disappointment, I'm sorry to say. Osgood did do a better job with the monkey, though. I like that movie a bit more. Oh, wait a minute. I missed out on this one. So I've actually seen 27 movies. Next up is Oddity. Hated this movie. Me and Meadow actually sat down and watched this movie together, and she liked it way more than I did. Very low budget, very small stakes and low stakes type story. Um, Again, it feels like a movie that left a lot of its details intentionally vague so you can fill in the blanks yourself. I don't like movies that do that. Again, the biggest example, I've talked about this before, is the film It Comes at Night, where the filmmakers intentionally left the movie incomplete so you could fill in the blanks yourself. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it when you do that. You can leave some details vague, but you got to give me a complete through line throughout the entire movie. If you force me to make up details in my own head, that just, again, leaves me with more questions that just frustrate the shit out of me because the movie is not going to answer those questions. And this feels like one of those movies. It's also not very scary. There was one jump scare in the film when the wooden man actually started walking around. I don't give a shit about spoilers. That did get me. But other than that, very underwhelming, very kind of slow and boring and uneventful, and just not a very enjoyable film, I'm sorry to say. Do I have a pen back here? I don't think I do. Shit. Oh well. Oh wait, duh, I'm looking right at him. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. I did not see Deadpool and Wolverine, nor will I ever. I'm sorry to say. Or no, I'm not sorry to say, because I'm not interested. Guys, I'm so done with the MCU. I read about some details. I heard a lot of word of mouth. I saw the marketing. I saw the trailers. I did watch a couple scenes. I did laugh at a couple of the jokes, but I am just so disinterested in the MCU, and I'm so disinterested in superhero films. It's not even funny. The MCU, with the exception of one, the MCU has put out like 15 movies in 5 years, and none of them interest me. They keep adapting characters that I don't care about, and the characters that I'm somewhat interested in, they just keep fumbling. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm not interested in this crap. I mean, I like that they got Hugh Jackman back. I like that they got what's his name? Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool. I do appreciate that it was R-rated, but it kind of seemed like they were doing the same thing again with Deadpool 2, in that there was more R-rated humor than R-rated action. Although I did see that they got Wesley Snipes back as Blade, and finally they gave Channing Tatum the opportunity to play Gambit, which is apparently something he's wanted to do for a long time. And there's a bunch of references to all of the Marvel Fox movies, like Fantastic Four, I think Daredevil, the Blade movies, even though those are New Line Cinema, but whatever. But I'm not interested. I can't do it. I cannot do it, guys. I can't force myself to sit through movies I just don't care about anymore. Yeah, moving on. I almost checked out AmFad. All My Friends Are Dead, but I just never got around to it. I did not see Borderlands. I'm not a big fan of the Borderlands games, but my friend Charlene is, and she was miserably disappointed by that game, by that movie. Oh, I did see Alien Romulus. We'll get back to that later. Hmm. Oh dear. Oh man. Oh my god. Next up is The Crow 2024. Holy fucking shit. Holy motherfucking shit. The Crow was a huge, huge disappointment. one of the top 5 for a major Hollywood studio. Like, Lionsgate is not like one of the big 5 of Hollywood movie studios, but Lionsgate has put out good movies, and Lionsgate has put out successful movies. But god damn, Lionsgate guys, what the fuck were you guys smoking? The Crow 2024 has got to be one of the top 5 or maybe 10 most ineptly made major studio theatrically released movies I've ever seen in my life. I saw the trailer. I was very interested. And when Bill was cast, I was very interested. I didn't care about the fact that he looks like a wannabe SoundCloud rapper. When I saw that it was R-rated, I was interested. I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. And everybody around me was telling me that it was terrible. Literally everybody. So Meadow is a huge fan of the original Crow movie. And I like the original Crow. I think it's a tad bit overrated, but it is still a good movie. But, and again, I really don't like that so many people were just shitting on it left and right for the fact that they're trying to remake The Crow and they're trying to usurp Brandon Lee's placement as The Crow. Like, what guys? Come on now. You can take the opportunity to be much more faithful to the original Crow comic. And when I saw Bill Skarsgård as the Crow looking the way he did, I was okay with it because if you read the original Crow comic, which I got for Meadow for her birthday, let's see, where's a good photo, or not photo, a good image of nope, there's a better one somewhere in here. Pardon Roman. Okay, here you go. So this should be made into like a big splash page. How the Crow looks in this comic, Bill Skarsgård has the proper physique. Like, he's not super buff, but he's very lean and very muscular. And I think he was capturing that look quite well. But the movie is just, it's almost unexplainable how horrible The Crow 2024 is. There is one action scene in the entire movie. One action scene. And it's more than an hour into the movie when the movie's like an hour and 40 something minutes. That is entertaining. It's when Bill goes into the opera theater with a wakizashi and starts slicing up henchmen left and right. Yeah, that scene is entertaining, but the rest of the movie is just it's nonsensical. It's boring and drags like a motherfucker. The performances are either flat, deadpan, or uninteresting and engaging, or just bad. What's her name? Bill Skarsgård is okay as the Crow, but the material that Bill has is very standard, but it's just flat. And this movie did not need to be a readaptation of the original Crow film. They should have taken the opportunity to adapt the comic. They could have adapted the style, look, and tone of the comic and include a bunch more details that the original movie did have, but they snipped out due to Brandon Lee's death. FKA Twigs. Her character was terrible. Her acting was terrible in this movie. The ending is nonsensical as fuck. Very unsatisfying, very bittersweet in a bad way. The movie lacks a good villain. It doesn't even have a decent villain. It has shit villains. Good actor, the guy who plays the villain, what's his name? Danny Houston. He's a good actor, but his character in this movie makes zero sense. So, and like it, this is the year, when this came out, it was 2024. Shouldn't we have some kind of quality control by this point? Shouldn't we have some people in studios in Hollywood saying, okay, guys, we cannot be releasing movies like this. This is an hour and 50-minute long wannabe superhero movie that's a readaptation of a beloved movie. We can't just have one action scene. We can't have terrible acting. We can't do this and we can't do that. We cannot release a movie in theaters like this. Do we not have any kind of people in Hollywood saying that kind of stuff and asking those kinds of questions? Well, evidently not, because The Crow 2024 got released and it was a huge, huge financial failure. I don't agree with people who's saying that, like, the original director and the original writer of the comic saying you just can't top that. I think you can. I do think you can. If you readapt the comic, if you actually put in effort, if you hire talent, you have good money, you can make a good movie. But it seemed like the creators of this movie just didn't want to make a good movie. They really should have stuck with that original version that starred Jason Momoa as the Crow. That movie would have been badass as fuck. Look into that sometime. Jason Momoa as a resurrected police officer avenging his family as the Crow. That in and of itself is way better than anything that this movie puts out. Whew, The Crow was terrible. Oh, god damn. And the next movie that we have here is Strange Darling. This might be the worst movie of 2024. Might be. Because The Crow is pretty big competition. But the trailer for Strange Darling just made it look so much better than it turned out to be. Seems to be another recurring theme for movies coming up this year. The story is nonsensical. Apparently, 2 or 3 times the studio that put this movie out tried to force the director to change the story structure because it's told in like acts, kind of like a Quentin Tarantino movie. There's like 6 parts, but it starts out of order. Like it starts with part 3 and then it goes part 6, or not, like part 3, part 5, part 1, part 4, part 3, part 6, so on and so forth. And the studio tried to make the director just put it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the director said, no, fuck you, I'm releasing it as is. And well, maybe because had they released the movie as is, it would have gave away its twist. I still think you could have made a decent movie out of this, but God, this movie was... Meadow watched it with me too. She checked out after like half an hour, and by the end of it, I didn't blame her. It's painfully boring. It's painfully mediocre. It has a few shiny bells and whistles. Oh, I was pretty close. It goes 3, 5, 1, 4, 2, 6. That's how the story is told. And then there's an epilogue. The characters are unlikable. It's got a low budget. There's not very much that happens in the movie that is entertaining. There's nothing in the movie that happens that's entertaining. There's maybe 1 or 2 decent cat and mouse sequences, But the main character of the movie, played by Willa Fitzgerald, who is a good actress, she was really good in the first season of Reacher. But here, her character, who is a serial killer, like the movie kind of tries to trick you into sympathizing with her, but the movie gives itself away pretty quickly that she's the bad guy, and I can't buy it. And by the end of the movie, where it's supposed to be at least what feels like a sad scene where the serial killer gets killed by a wannabe victim, I feel like they're supposed to make that into a sad scene, but I'm just like, cool. That whoever shot her did us a favor. This chick was a piece of shit. Fuck this chick. Fuck this movie. Right to hell, up its ass with a barbed wire fucking covered fence post. Fuck this movie. Strange Darling sucked. And it especially pissed me off because I wasted a pre-order. I could have saw this on Vudu. I saw The Crow on Vudu. I didn't waste a damn dime on The Crow. I wasted $20 whole on Strange Darling. Fuck this movie. Fuck. Did not like Strange Darling. I did not see Beetlejuice. I heard about some of the details, but I don't like that the movie ends. I read the plot, and I don't like that the movie ends on a big sequel tease. And Tim Burton has kind of stated, like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be making a third movie. Why the fuck not? People have been wanting another Beetlejuice movie for 35 years. Why not give us a new movie? Troll. No thanks. I'm good. I like the cast. I like that they brought back some of the OG characters. But I'm not a big Beetlejuice fan. Rebel Ridge. What the hell was that? Oh, never mind. My old ass. It's a funny movie. It's a funny title. I haven't seen that movie. Oh, next up we have Transformers 1. We'll talk about that later. But next up we have The Substance. This not my cup of tea. I actually weirdly I watched The Substance with Charlene Christmas Eve, or like the night of Christmas Day. Me and Charlene watched The Substance together. And I enjoyed watching the movie with her, but the movie itself is it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad movie. It's got good performances. Demi Moore in particular, like this was I knew of Demi Moore beforehand, but this is the movie that made me aware that she actually is a pretty talented and lovely actress. She does really good in this film, and the other actress in it, what's her name? Margaret Quaid, or Dennis Quaid, Margaret Qualley. She does a good job in this movie too. But the movie is it's just not for me. It's not made for me. It's made by a woman and it's made for women. That's not bad by any means, and I understand the messages, I understand the themes, I understand the symbolism. Like there's some good acting, there's some good direction, there's some really good body horror, there's some really good special effects. It's a well-made movie, but it's just not for me. I like fun, batshit crazy horror films. And this has a batshit crazy scene, but it's kind of done in a it's done in a disturbing way that's just not very enjoyable for me. And it also has kind of a bleak fuck you ending, which I understand the symbolism. It's just not for me. Didn't really enjoy it. Sorry. Oh, never mind. I didn't see The Wild Robot. I did see, or like I heard about some of the. Oh, Mark Hamill's in it. It's got a good cast. Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, Bill Nye, Mark Hamill, Catherine O'Hara, Ving Rhames. Like The Wild Robot's got a good cast, and I saw some of the hype surrounding it, but just never got around to it. Doesn't look like a bad movie though. I did not see Megalopolis. I'm not a fan of Francis Ford Coppola. Not interested. I do know it was a huge flop though. Let's see. No, it was a it was a huge bomb. It made only $14.4 million against a 120 to $136 million budget. Holy, 120 of that budget was Coppola's own movie. God damn, dude, what the fuck? I wonder why it was a failure though. Oh, that doesn't help. But yeah, no, I'm not really interested in seeing Megalopolis. Oh wow. Damn, they made two like Satanic Panic prequels in 2024 because you had the first Omen and then you had Apartment 7A, which is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. Huh. Didn't see it. The Substance was the last movie of 2024 that I saw in 2024. Everything else I saw after this, or no. No, that's not true. Never mind. Excuse me. Although a fair few of these I did see earlier this year. The first of which was Salem's Lot, the third adaptation of the Stephen King novel from 1975. Of course, we had the 1979 Salem's Lot miniseries directed by Tobe Hooper, which I have seen and didn't really think was all that good. There was the 2004 miniseries that I have not seen, and then we have this movie. So this is an HBO Max movie, and I guess this movie was almost Batgirl. Like the studio just wanted to shelve it for tax purposes. But there was a lot of buzz and a lot of people who really wanted to see this movie get actually released. And well, I don't support movies getting Batgirled, hence the term Batgirl. Like I would have wanted to see that Batgirl movie with Brendan Fraser as Firefly. Like I don't, especially if the film is complete. Why not just release it? Even if it doesn't make money, it still makes something. If you have a finished product, why the fuck would you just put it away? If it's like partially complete, then I could sort of understand that. Excuse me. But yeah, it seemed like Salem's Lot would have almost had that happen to it, but it was released. And well, I'm not saying it should have been shelved. I don't think all the hype and buzz surrounding it really was all that worth it. It's not a bad movie, but it's just painfully mediocre. I am aware of a fair bit of the differences between the previous miniseries and its source material, and it kind of seemed like this movie was stuck in like a middle ground where it was kind of trying to be a more faithful adaptation of its source material, but it also felt like it was trying to be a huge homage to the Tobe Hooper miniseries. And while like the homage stuff is okay, And as a vampire story, which that's what this is, it's essentially Stephen King's take on Dracula. It's not bad, but it just could have been better. Again, the first 20 minutes are pretty solid. It has a strong aesthetic. It has a strong Stephen King feel. It almost feels like it could be in the same universe as the two new It movies, which, by the way, no, I have not seen the trailer for the Welcome to Derry series, although I am interested. Excuse me. This chair is so uncomfortable. Excuse me. Sorry. And there's some decent moments of suspense. There's some typical vampire stuff. I do like that. I don't think they were intentionally trying to like emulate like Fright Night or like classic 80s vampire movies, but well, the movie does take place. I think it does. Oh no, it takes place in the 70s. So I like that retro aesthetic and feel, but it's just very typical. It's a very typical Stephen King adaptation. And I thought we were done with those kinds of movies. It's not bad. The main villain of the movie, though, the vampire, Kurt Barlow, is miserably underused. His design and appearance is very similar to how he looked like in the like his appearance is very similar to the 70s miniseries, but the one main difference, and this is the thing that pissed off a lot of people when that came out, is that Barlow didn't speak. In this movie, he does, but he only has a few words of dialogue, and he also has very little screen time. And this is an example of, I think this movie should have been like 40 minutes longer. Because the first half of the movie, Kurt Barlow's going through Salem, Massachusetts, and like slowly turning everybody to vampires. But then once the second half of the movie rolls around, all of a sudden, snap your finger, the entire town has been vampirized. Like, what? This came out of nowhere. So, like, had it been longer, I could have felt that like increase of stakes and rising of tension more and more. But it's just so jarring that they jump from a few people being vampires to then you snap your fingers and then all of a sudden the entire town are vampires. Also, Barlow's death and defeat is kind of rushed and anticlimactic, in my opinion. And the movie ends on kind of a very, not really ambiguous, but just kind of unclear and unsure, kind of sour note, in my opinion. The 70s miniseries ended on that same note, too. So maybe that's an element from the novel. But yeah, I just wasn't a big fan of this. It's not bad, it's well made. There's some decent acting and good performances and decent special effects and some decent moments of tension. But it's just a Stephen King movie. And it's kind of sad that the one time, actually, no, Stephen King's done vampires a couple times. But the one really famous uh, Stephen King vampire story has just never been able to be adapted properly in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Another movie that rivals The Crow 2024 for the worst movie of the year. Hang on. Wait a minute. What the hell? Who the hell was he? Hold on a second. Let me check on Roman real quick. Oh, damn. What are you doing? Huh? Hold on, guys. I gotta take a leak. Okay. And that movie is Joker, Folie à Deux. I believe I don't. This movie sucked. Sucked. I was very excited for this movie because I love the first film, and I was one of those people that wanted a sequel. And when it was announced that a sequel was being made, I, of course, was interested. And then when it was announced that it was going to be a musical, I was not put off. I'm not a fan of musicals. The Sound of Music is a good movie, but it's not really my cup of tea. But it is well made, so I give that one a pass. And I like some. You could argue that a lot of Disney movies are musicals, but that doesn't take away from the film. And I like Little Shop of Horrors, mostly just for the effects. But I was like oddly okay with it because the first movie was so unconventional to begin with. I felt like this movie being a musical was just the filmmakers embracing the film being unconventional even more so. So yeah, I was okay with it. I wasn't put off by it being a musical. And when Lady Gaga was cast, I again was not put off. I like Lady Gaga. I'm actually a big fan of Lady Gaga. I like her music a lot. I do think she is a bit hit or miss as an actress, but that's neither here nor there. But then the movie came out, and I immediately was made very aware of a lot of the bad buzz surrounding the film. That was another recurring aspect for movies in 2024. And I read details surrounding the movie. I talked to Shawnee Boy about it, and some other people were just saying, "Nah, it's just not good." So I was cautious going into it, and I knew a lot of details, and I knew that at the end, Joker gets killed. And I did not pay money to see this, thankfully. It was on, again, funny, it was also on Vudu. Excuse me, guys. Let me turn off my fan for a minute. Or wait a minute. No, I'll just aim it away from me because I actually think that gives me some. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, didn't pay money for this movie. I saw it on Vudu, and I'm glad I didn't pay money for this. So I went into this movie knowing the plot, and by the end of it, I wasn't angry, but I was just like, wow, guys, like what the fuck? Why did this movie cost $200 million when the first movie was spectacularly made for only $55 million? Did you just give a bunch of money to Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga? Was that it? none of the songs were really all that fun to listen to, except for one where Joaquin was going around with the judge's mallet and whacking him over the head with it. That song was okay. The story doesn't really have a focal point, and had it been like Joker and obviously Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn going around this city killing people and falling in love with each other, that would have been just fine. Why is it a courtroom drama? Why is it a musical? Why is Lady Gaga underused? Why is this movie so bad? And yeah, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is killed off in the last 5 minutes of the movie, and it's very, very unsatisfying. It didn't really anger me, but it did bitterly disappoint me. It's just not good. Really, really, really not good. And I know that the studio was betting on this movie being a big hit, but Todd Phillips, the director, seemed like he had absolutely no desire to make this into a good movie. And I really got to question Warner Brothers, like, yo, guys, did you not see what Todd was doing? You know, I understand that he delivered the first movie, which was awesome, but was there no point in time? Did you guys just like poke your heads in the editing room and catch glimpses of what he was doing and just not say, okay, Todd, nah, dude, you need to, because in the end, when this movie came out, I think it's been deemed as one of, if not the lowest grossing, uh, like live action DC comic books movie in Warner Brothers history. Um, let's see. Because the film cost 190 to 200 million dollars, and it made only 207.5 million in its entire box office run. And pardon Roman, he's being a little turd. Hold on. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, your movie's on. That's fine. Oh, wait a minute. Oh. Okay, sorry guys. um. So yeah. Yeah. Did nobody during the entire production of Joker 2 just see what Todd Phillips was doing and say, nah, Todd, you need to do a couple things different at least. You need to make this a little more satisfying for the fans. Because especially with Todd, apparently he Todd just seemed like he was very disinterested in really any aspect of this movie. Some people said it was due to the film's lack of participation from Bradley Cooper, as Bradley Cooper had dissolved his partnership with Todd Phillips in 2021. I mean, hell, the movie was like this huge, big studio, $200 million movie was dethroned by fucking Terrifier 3 in its second weekend. And a lot of sources called this movie a complete audience rejection and a very expensive art film, which, yes, I do agree with that. Definitely is a very expensive art film. And when this movie came out, Todd Phillips spent the weekend of its release secluded on a ranch property that he owned or owns. So it just seemed like Phillips had absolutely no desire to give us a good movie. And as a result, the movie is considered to be one of the worst DC Comics movies ever made. And I would have to agree. See, this is what happens. This is what happens when studios don't put out movies that people don't like. Now, I'm not one of those people that says creators and studios owe their audiences anything that they want. I do think there needs to be a balance. You can give audiences what they want, but you can still give creators the right to create how they see fit. But because this movie was so poorly received, and because this movie did so poorly financially, this is an example of a case where the studios owe it to themselves to generally give audiences what they want to see. And it seemed like this movie gave nothing to any of what its audiences wanted to see. So, yeah, I don't feel sorry for Warner Brothers. Like, again, guys, did you not stick your heads in and realize what Todd was doing and be like, no, you can't do this? And the movie did so poorly, it's been labeled as a, like, it's hurt the name of DC for Warner Brothers as a result. And I see why, because the movie's terrible. Just a very, very unsatisfying, unenjoyable, just not a good movie. Just not good. Sorry to say. I would have been more pissed off, though, had I spent money on this movie. Next up is Hellboy, The Crooked Man. I was pleasantly surprised when this movie was coming out because I like Hellboy 2019. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It's very entertaining, very enjoyable for me. And when I heard that there was another Hellboy movie that was also going to be R-rated, I, of course, was interested. That's the only thing. That is the only thing that you have to do. If you do another Hellboy movie, just make it R-rated. Although in this case, can you also give it a bigger budget and some more action and some more gore? Because this movie doesn't really have that. A low budget, quote unquote. That's a big complaint that people had, is that it's low budget. Although, how the hell is $20 million considered a low budget? But did they just blow it on the cast? There's not a whole lot of action in this movie. There's not a whole lot of blood and gore, which there should have been. It feels like Hellboy. It looks like Hellboy, especially since Mike Mignola was one of the writers, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, was one of the co-writers. So at least his influence is here. The guy who plays Hellboy does a really good job, and he looks like Hellboy, sounds like Hellboy, and acts like Hellboy. But the movie is really held back by its low budget and the lack of action and the lack of gore. So you nailed the Hellboy part right, but you didn't nail the part of making a very entertaining movie. Not bad by any means, just could have been better. Oh, shit. Oops. Hold on. Sorry. Next up, we got Terrifier 3. We'll talk about that later. Didn't see Smile 2. I saw the first movie. It gave me nightmares. And there was one scene that I did watch from Smile 2 that also gave me nightmares. So, hard pass. No, thank you. I did not see Venom: The Last Dance. I'm not interested. Especially when I learned that Venom dies or like is highly implied to have died. And especially since this is the final part of the Venom trilogy. Why does this need to be a trilogy? Why? Like, can't you get somebody else to play? I know that sounds bad. I don't like it when you kill characters I like. Why do you feel the need to kill off Venom? Venom's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. And also Tom Hardy. Why did you stop being Eddie Brock and Venom? What the fuck? Yeah, no, thank you. When I found out that Venom dies or is allegedly killed off, I didn't care. I just don't care about superhero films anymore. And that may sound bad considering Venom is what brought me and Meadow together, but I'm sorry to say. Yeah, I wasn't interested. God, there's a lot of Christmas movies in November of all months. Didn't see Gladiator 2. I love the first movie, but I'm just not. I don't really think that movie needs a sequel. Like, what the fuck? Next, we have Werewolves, directed by Stephen C. Miller and starring Frank Grillo and Lou Diamond Phillips. Now, Stephen C. Miller is a solid filmmaker, although I didn't like Automaton Transfusion. That movie was a total fucking snooze. But specifically, he made the 2012 Silent Night movie, which I really, really, really liked. It's actually one of my favorite. It's both one of my favorite Christmas movies and one of my favorite slasher movies. Under the Bed sounds pretty cool. Yeah, Silent Night is really, really good. No, I didn't see Extraction. Escape Plan 2, though, was fucking horrible. That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Definitely one of the worst. Yeah, that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and definitely one of the worst Sylvester Stallone movies. But yeah, Werewolves. It's okay. Oh, he also did the Aggression Scale, which I thought was a total snooze. But yeah, Werewolves. It's okay. It's essentially The Purge mixed with werewolves. Not a bad concept, It actually, like, this is another recurring gimmick throughout 2024. The first 20 or 30 minutes are really solid. There's some good werewolf effects, like they're guys in suits and they're mostly practical. There's some practical gore. There's some fun action scenes. But the film's pacing is a bit all over the place, and it has a kind of an unsatisfying ending, in my opinion. And Frank Grillo's character, it's essentially the same dude from the Purge 2 and 3. I don't buy this dude as a scientist because I guess that's what he's supposed to be in this movie, but he just looks like a cop or security officer. Lou Diamond Phillips is a good actor, but he's very underused and very poorly used. Yeah, it was just okay. Werewolves is not bad if you like werewolves. It's entertaining enough. If you like The Purge, it's entertaining enough. Yeah, just okay. Next up, we have. I did not see Kraven the Hunter. Again, why is this the first one of the Sony Spider-Man universe that's R-rated? And I did see one scene where Kraven fights the Rhino. Didn't like the design of the Rhino, and I thought the fight itself was very poor. And again, why is this the first R-rated one? Honestly, all of the Sony Spider-Man movies should have been R-rated, except maybe Madam Web. But I don't like Kraven the Hunter as a character to begin with. And this, just for me, it was too little too late. When I saw the Red Band trailer for the movie, I thought it was sort of intriguing, but I just lost interest. Again, superhero movies just need to go away for like 10 or 15 years. I didn't see the Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. I'm just, I guess I'm not interested. I'm sorry to say. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. We'll get to that in a bit. And then finally, the last movie of the year that I saw from 2024 was Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Didn't really care for it. It's not a bad adaptation of Nosferatu. It definitely, you can tell Robert Eggers is a fan. Actually, he definitely is a fan because he played Count Orlok in a stage production of Nosferatu when he was in high school. So I appreciate that he's a fan. I appreciate the passion and drive that he puts into this movie. I like the aesthetic. I like the snowy environment. It has a good cast. Let's see. We got Bill Skarsgård, who does a good job as Count Orlok. We got Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was in a lot of movies this year. Willem Dafoe is a welcome addition, although I think he is extremely underused. I don't like Lily Rose Depp in this movie. I think she's actually very cringy and kind of funny unintentionally. The highlight of the movie is Bill Skarsgård. He's in a lot of movies this year too, as Count Orlok, but the movie is not gory enough. There's a lot of drawn out sequences that feel right out of a Robert Eggers movie. This is a Robert Eggers movie, so I'm just not a fan of that. The movie's kind of slow. And it doesn't really feel like, the story of Dracula has been told 100 million times. And Nosferatu has been homaged and referenced and retold enough times. And while I appreciate that Robert Eggers is a fan, this movie is just another Nosferatu movie. I've seen stuff like this before. It may be the best iteration of this, but it's also just a story I'm not a big fan of. And Lily Rose Depp was just the icing on the shit sandwich. Sorry to say. There was another vampire movie that came out in 2024 that was way more entertaining, which, as promised, we will get into the top 10 films of 2024 that I did like. Although, unfortunately, we kind of have to start off on a bit of a underwhelming note. And this movie only barely made my top 10. And that is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I saw this in theaters with Meadow, the one and only Planet of the Apes movie that I've seen in theaters. And she got interested in seeing it because I showed her the original Planet of the Apes from 1968 and the new trilogy, Rise, Dawn, and War, which she all liked, especially Rise and War in particular. Rise, especially, she really, really liked because of John Lithgow. So going into Kingdom, her and I were pretty excited. But unfortunately, by the end of it, I mean, she fell asleep in the theater, and I almost did at one point myself. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is just okay. It's well made. It's a good follow-up, sorta, like in spirit, style, and tone of the Caesar trilogy. I appreciate all the callbacks and the connective tissue to the original trilogy. I do appreciate seeing that one scene where Caesar is actually laid to rest at the beginning. All the motion capture actors for like Maurice and Rocket, and I think Andy Serkis too, did reprise their roles as Rocket, Maurice, and Caesar at the beginning. But the big thing that kind of hurts Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes for me, one is the main character, Noah, is kind of a pansy, and he gets his ass kicked for way too much of the film. But the big thing that hurts the movie, you can tell that it's a new start of a new trilogy. And that's just not how you do it. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the start of a new trilogy, but it still worked as a standalone movie. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes does not work as a standalone movie. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting a sequel to it. I'm trying to find it here. Oh, here it is. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes had a they started working on this in 2019. It took them 5 years to release it. Wow. Okay, a sequel is in development for an expected 2027 release. And it made 397.3 million against a 120 to 160 million budget. So, I mean, like, I guess that's another thing that kind of hurts the movie for me is that you made us wait 7 years. And I'm not even factoring in the fact that this movie is coming after War for the Planet of the Apes. That's a really tough act to follow. And I do approve that they set this movie so long after the events of that movie. But still, it's been 7 years since we got, or 8 years now, since we got a new Planet of the Apes movie. And this is the best you can do? Really? Especially after 5 years? But no, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is still it's a decent movie. I just hope the sequels are better. But getting into number 9 is the Roadhouse remake. Not very much to say about this. I do really like the original Roadhouse. I think it is a cult classic film that's very enjoyable. Great action scenes. Patrick Swayze's badass. Sam Elliott's badass. Yeah, it's a fun action movie. And this movie is the same. Jake Gyllenhaal is quickly turning into not one of my favorite actors, but he's kind of one of those actors that I keep forgetting is such a good actor, because he has done some really good stuff, and he's really good in this movie. There's some fun fight scenes. There's some funny humor. It kind of carries the original tone and feel and aesthetic of the original Roadhouse. And of course, the fight scenes and action scenes are all pretty entertaining. And Conor McGregor plays a very entertaining and funny villain in this movie. And I do look forward to the sequel. Coming in at number 8 is Bad Boys Ride or Die. This one is also a bit problematic. Not nearly as much as Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I did like Bad Boys Ride or Die. But it's not as good as Bad Boys 2 and 3. And I think I might even like the first movie a little bit more than this one. The main thing that hurts Bad Boys 4 is how underused all of the cool new characters that were introduced in Bad Boys 3 are. How poorly and underused they are. I also don't like some of the recasting decisions, namely Teresa, Martin Lawrence's wife in the film. It's very distracting and very jarring. Some of the action scenes are a little rushed and a little kind of flat and boring. The story itself, I think, is also a little rushed at points. It is funny. There's some really good jokes in the movie. There is some entertaining action. But in the end, I think it was just decent. Not bad or terrible. It's entertaining. It's a worthy Bad Boys film, but it's just not quite as strong, unfortunately. And it seems like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith were of the same opinion. Coming in at number 7 is, of course, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. I'm not going to say very much about this because I do have a review for this movie coming up in the next coming months or weeks. But I did like it. Me and Meadow did go and see this in theaters. And it was a fun theater experience. It's a very fun movie. A very fun monster movie. Not a great Godzilla movie, unfortunately, but an excellent Kong film. And just overall, it's a damn good time. Moving on. At number 6 is the best vampire movie of 2024, and that was Abigail, surprisingly. Abigail was a very pleasant surprise. Obviously, it's trying to be kind of a remake of Dracula's Daughter, but also not. It's got some fun action. It's got some good gore and some good kills. It's got a really good cast. Who do we have here? Oh, here we are. I do think Radio Silence, their time in Hollywood may be quickly being on its way out. But yeah, it's got a good cast. We got Melissa Barrera. She is a decent actress at times. We got Dan Stevens, Catherine Newton, yet again. She's much better in this movie than she was in Lisa Frankenstein. Kevin Durand, Giancarlo Esposito. I totally called him being the most underused actor. And Meadow is a big fan of Angus Cloud. I haven't seen him in anything else except for this movie. He wasn't bad. Yeah, good cast, good direction, some good music, some fun special effects, some fun action scenes. Yeah, this is a fun flick. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a sequel. It's just a shame that, well, I mean, the movie made money, but it just didn't explode at the box office like like it seemed the studio was hoping it would. But still, Abigail is a fun flick. Coming in at number 5 is Alien Romulus, which I really enjoyed. Alien Romulus, first Alien film, funny also since 2017. And this was a much better return to the franchise than Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was. A great, it's a good midquel. It looks like the original Alien. It feels like the original Alien. Especially all the connective tissue and cameos from elements from the original Alien. Hell, we see Big Chap dead, but we still see Big Chap, and it's a cool reveal. Didn't really care for the CG deepfake of what's his name, Ian Holm as another Ash robot, but I see what they're doing. I just think the deepfake CG face was a bit wonky. Not as bad as the Flash movie, though. The characters are decent, although I do think that there is too small of a body count, just like the original Alien. Actually, there's even less characters and less kills in this movie than there was in the original Alien. There's not a whole lot of gore, which is kind of disappointing, too. But there's some great suspense. There's some really tense and nail-biting sequences. The guy who plays the android, the main one in this movie, does a really solid job. There are some fun action scenes, and the special effects are, like, practically are all really solid. Yeah, Alien Romulus was a great return to form. Fede Alvarez did a good job with an Alien movie. Just a shame he's not coming back for the next Alien movie. Coming in at number 4 is Transformers 1. Kind of a loose ranking for this top 10, by the way. But yeah, Transformers 1 was a big, pleasant surprise. Although, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a huge shame that while this movie very obviously was setting up like a new series or at least a new trilogy, it's a shame that trilogy is no longer moving forward. But I think I know why. It's because the marketing for this movie was terrible. I saw one trailer one time for this movie, and that was it. And then it was just dumped on DVD, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked it up. Transformers 1 was a huge box office disappointment. And it's a shame because they had a good cast. Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, who I think did a really good job. Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan Michael Key, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Fishburne. Great cast, and the voice acting is really good. The animation was really solid. I like the classic old school aesthetic for all the Transformers, but the film only made $129.4 million against a $75 to $147 million budget. Why the hell is there such a huge, like, difference in, like, why is the margin so huge for its estimated budget? Something seems a bit sketchy about that. But yeah, the movie was a huge flop, and it's a shame. And it was so bad that a lot of people in the Transformers community were saying that Hasbro needs to sever ties with Paramount because the marketing for their movies have been so bad in recent years. I'm actually inclined to agree because, again, it's a big, big shame that this movie flopped. Again, great cast, great animation. There's some fun action, some funny jokes. Yeah, Transformers 1 was a good time, but it's a shame that we're not getting any more of this. Coming in at number 3 is Terrifier 3. I'm also keeping this very brief for a future project. But I like Terrifier 3. It's a good continuation of the series. The increased budget is very appreciated. David Howard Thornton still kills it, no pun intended, as Art the Clown. It's a fun Christmas horror movie. I'll definitely be adding that to my Christmas watch list. Great, batshit crazy, balls to the wall kills. A bit of an unsatisfying ending, but I do look forward to Terrifier 4. Yeah, not much to say about Terrifier 3, but I did like it. It's got some flaws, but I liked it. Coming in at number 2 is another third movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I just watched this earlier this week for the first time. And funny, it came out on DVD a day before I turned 28. But I finally got around to seeing it. I liked it. Keanu Reeves is awesome as Shadow. Jim Carrey is hilarious as both Dr. Gerald Robotnik and Ivo Robotnik. The action scenes are a lot of fun. Seeing Super Sonic versus Super Shadow is really fun. And seeing Super Sonic and Super Shadow team up against an army of robots is really cool. It's very colorful, very flashy, very fast-paced, very entertaining. And above all else, it's really fucking funny. It might be the funniest of the entire series. There was one scene where I was like clutching my stomach. I was laughing so hard. I better hurry up. And the best movie of 2024 coming in at number 1 is Ultraman Rising. This movie blew my fucking mind and blew my fucking balls off. Fantastic animation, amazing nods and homages to the Ultraman franchise, great voice acting, fun action scenes, a great variety of characters, a very effective and emotional story and very emotional moments, a great father and daughter bonding story. And above all else, it's just a fantastic Ultraman movie and a fantastic film in general. And I would definitely add this to my top 20 list of favorite animated movies ever made. Ultraman Rising kicks ass. And with that, this horror show is complete. With some exceptions, hopefully I never ever have to talk about 2024 ever again. Still, worst year for films I've ever had the displeasure of sitting through. Damn. Post your comments down below. Hope let me know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed this different episode of Super Cinema Rank. Future episodes will be like more traditional, but yeah, I could not in good conscience rank all of these terrible movies from worst to best. Yeah. Look forward to future episodes. Look forward to more videos coming out this month for the spooky season. Look forward to those. I got a couple big good ones planned. And as always, go out, watch the movies, enjoy the spooky season. Happy October. And I will see you guys in the next one.